Welcome everybody, welcome to the Bold Cafe podcast. This is now episode 4 of the Bold Cafe podcast, the podcast that is 100% dedicated to helping guys around the world deal positively, confidently and bravely with their bolding. And today, joining us via Skype is my old colleague and my long-time friend, Mr. Andrew Ferguson. Hello Andrew, how are you?
Well, Harry, thank you so much for having me on here.
It's a pleasure, Andrew. We've had some technical difficulties, but we're going to get through it. We're going to have a fantastic podcast here.
Yeah.
So, Andrew, let's get straight to the point, okay? When I first met you, what was it now? 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Yeah, probably about 3 years ago now.
I had a fantastic head of hair, did I not?
Yeah, you did. You had some curls on you, mate.
And you were already losing your hair, but now I'm the one without any, and you have still got some. So it's funny how things work.
Life does have a good sense of humour, eh?
I was trying to think the other day, when we worked together, did I used to make any jokes or anything about you being bald? I can't really remember.
You may have thrown a few my way, but...
Yeah, it's funny, because at that time I had no idea that I was going to go bald. But I remember also sending you a message. You were one of the first people I told that I was going bald, and I think I sent you a message on WeChat, which is, for those who don't know, it's the sort of a WhatsApp equivalent. And I think I remember saying to you, I'm losing my hair. I can't remember what you said. Can you remember or no?
I think I said just it's probably not as bad as you think.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And you can still rock some hair.
I could still rock some hair. It's just, as I've said in a lot of the other episodes, it was just the mental aspect of it that I just couldn't go on like that anymore. Anyway, Andrew, let's get talking about your own story. So I don't know much about your own balding story, although you did tell me one time that a family gathering for you is like seeing all the stages of male pattern baldness. I do remember you telling me that. So it runs in the family?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll delve more into the family stuff in a minute. Andrew, take me back to the first time when you first found out you were losing your hair. I want to know how you discovered it, and I want you to tell me how you felt about it at the time.
Well, so it was first year uni. I was going to get my hair cut. I think it was just after Freshers Week, and so you're recovering from a week's worth of drinking. And he sits down, he starts going over, chit-chatting, and he said, "Well, you've got good news for you. How you look at it, you're going to be saving a bunch of money in the next few years." "All right, how's that?" It's like, "Well, you won't need to come back because your hairline's retreating." So it was the man who was cutting my hair told me the first time. It's "Oh, by the way,
are those the words he used? He said, "Oh, your hairline's going back here. You're losing your hair."
Yeah.
Oh, that's. Yeah. And was he like an old guy or a younger guy, or can you remember?
He was like a younger guy.
Okay, so he must have had some experience with cutting guys' hairs, that are sort of falling out. So I guess he knows what he's looking at.
Yeah.
And but before.
Hard truth.
Yeah, but before that, you didn't know, and you didn't realise that your hair was falling out at all.
Nah, not really. No, it was surprising.
But had you ever worried about it before that? I mean, obviously, we just mentioned it runs in the family. Had you ever thought I'm probably going to go bald? So were you sort of already prepared? What I mean is, were you surprised or no?
I guess I was surprised because you're 18 years old.
18, yeah. So you were 18 when you found out, yeah.
But, you take down the chin. No, so I always had massive long hair growing up when I was 15, 16.
Right.
And then it got very short.
So when you went in, were you going you were just having a sort of monthly or every sort of 6 weeks, that sort of short on the sides, long on top? Is that what you were rocking at the time?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Short back and
side. Oh, nice. So I mean, how did you feel? He told you, your hair's falling out, and you just thought, all right, sweet. Or, what? Were you worried at all or anxious about it or what?
It was a bit worrying, but I just sort of accepted it, and then, it's natural.
It's natural,
You
yeah.
can't really hate it.
So you just accepted it, what, at the time, there and then? You thought, oh, I'm 18, my hair's falling
I don't
out.
think I was mature enough to accept it at that point in
Yeah.
time. But as you get older, as you like look in the mirror and you notice that, you know, if you
Yeah.
turn on a certain type of bulb, you can see your like scalp there. You're like, whatever.
Yeah.
The game is up. You know?
You can see the sort of the skin through the hair.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
if you like have a shower, it's like, oh, okay, it's like I'm already bald.
Yeah, when it's wet, it does look a lot more obvious than when it's dry.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're 18 years old, and this hairdresser or this barber, he's just said, you know, yeah, your hair's fallen out or whatever. And how old are you now?
I'm 25.
Okay, 25. So what? That's 7 years. But it looks like your hair's sort of fallen out quite slowly. So when you were sort of 18, did you think? Were you sort of thinking, oh, I can probably hang on to it to a good few years at least, for a good few years?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think it to be this long. I thought it'd be a lot quicker.
Yeah. And so did you, when when it was falling out, apart from obviously he's pointed out to you that your hairline's receding backwards, did you notice any other like symptoms? I mean, like when you washed it, was there lots of hair coming out, or on the, we hear the stories about on the pillow and loads of hair like that. Did you notice anything like that?
No, actually, no, I didn't see anything like that.
Nothing.
It was very, very gradual and like just it sneaks up on you.
Nothing untoward. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Did you?
It was subtle.
Did you like keep it to yourself, or did you tell anyone, or what did you do about that?
Oh, I told people because for one, it was quite like looking back, it's quite funny having your barber tell you that.
Yeah.
You know.
It's funny. Did you?
No, I told people.
Did you see the podcast I did with my dad or no?
No, I've not seen that yet.
Well, he mentioned in that one that he went to this barber. I asked him. I said to him, was there any time where you felt bad about it or whatever? And he said he went to this barber, and the barber was like, "Oh, I can cut your hair for you, so you can sort of style it in a way that it can look like, basically the comb over, or I can cut it for you." Did you ever consider? Did he offer you anything like that or no?
No, actually, I was at the barber a couple days back.
Yeah.
And I was toying with the idea of actually shaving the head, like just doing away with it.
Yeah.
So I was chatting to her, and she was like, "No, don't do that."
Oh, really?
Like what I can do with it, it's fine so far. So
yeah.
She was like, "Yeah, don't worry about it."
Oh, she advised you against it, did she?
Yeah. She was like, "Nah, don't shave your head yet. It doesn't make sense."
Oh, what? So she's of the thought that you've got too much hair still to warrant getting rid of it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah. Okay, so did you look for advice from did you speak to your family about it at all? Like, is your dad bald?
Yeah. He's not totally bald, but he's very thin on top.
So what, similar to how you are now, or?
Patch at the back.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got quite a
big bald patch at the back. Does it connect at the top or no?
Yeah, towards the front, yeah.
So basically similar to what you've got, but it's gone at the back more further.
Yeah.
And how old's your dad?
He's in his mid-60s, so.
Oh, okay, so he's done alright to hold on to it that long.
Yeah. So there's hope.
Yeah. Well, it obviously falls out slowly. Have you ever considered any sort of treatment? Have you ever looked into any of that stuff, or thought about it, or has anyone ever suggested it to you?
Yeah, some of the guys I work with talked about what's it called, where you like get it fills in. Like I don't know the term for it. It's not like a transplant, but it's like something you spray in, and
okay, yeah, like the hair fibers that you can sort of dab on, and it sticks to the existing hair and makes it look thicker.
Yeah.
Is that recently? Is it?
They said that, quite recently.
Oh, really?
And of course, like that caffeine shampoo stuff.
Yeah.
And here in North America, I don't know if you have it in the UK or China, it's like Rogaine.
Yeah, I know of Rogaine. Yeah, minoxidil. That's the stuff I'm using on my beard at the moment.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because it's sort of, people basically, minoxidil was designed to, to regrow hair. Mainly, it doesn't work at the front, but it works on the crown, at the vortex, at the crown. So if your hair's like just starting to fall out, just starting to thin, basically how mine was, I was like a prime candidate for using minoxidil, but I'd already shaved it off before I discovered it. Yeah, and you dab it on there, and it basically opens up the capillaries and things like that, basically, and allows more blood flow and stuff to get to the hair follicles, and allows the hair to sort of grow. And for some people it does work, but you have to use it every day, twice a day. It's a lot of effort, it's a lot of effort. And it's to keeping onto your hair. I was already over it at that point. That's why I sort of never really considered it. So obviously you're not 100% clued up on all this stuff. So I'm assuming then really you've never really been bothered enough to look into these solutions.
Well, it's just I don't really see it as a problem.
Yeah, no. Elaborate on that, because you're right. When I met you, and I'm pretty sure I did make a few jokes, as friends do, right? And you were just sort of pretty blasé about it, like whatever, like it is what it is. Why, what's allowed you to get to that point? Do you think, like, what's allowed you to have that sort of train of thought? Because I'm obviously doing all this because there's so many guys that struggle with it so much, but obviously the way how I am now and the way you are, well, the way I've always known you, what do you think separates how you sort of see it compared to other people?
Some people are worried that people won't find them attractive, people won't find them, I don't know, they'll judge them. Like, I don't know, I think people connect hair to who they are a bit too much.
Yeah, I think it's
like hairstyle.
Yeah, placing a lot of your confidence in the way you look, rather than your ability, what you do, how you do things, the sort of person you are.
Because I know people with no hair but with lots of personality, and I know a lot of people with lots of hair but no personality.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Personality wins every day. So. Yeah,
no, you're totally right. I 100% agree. That's an interesting point. I've never heard that before. But going back to attractiveness, because when I knew you, obviously we were in China. You didn't do too badly in that regard. In terms of finding the opposite sex to interact with, shall we say? I don't want to air out your dirty laundry, but you've never, even after then, when you've been in Canada and we've been, I've been chatting to you, you've never really had a problem with anything like that, You've done fine with the ladies, is my point,
Yeah, it's I don't know, if you let it hold it back, it will.
Yeah.
But if you don't,
it's not going to stop you.
Yeah. Come on.
You've you got a girlfriend now as well, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw a few.
Together almost 6 months now.
Oh, awesome! Is that the?
Yeah.
Didn't you tell me she was? Where's she from?
Brazil.
That's it. Yeah, Brazil. I thought Argentina, but yeah, she's from Brazil. Nice one, mate. International ladies, man. Love it, mate. Love it. Okay, so you've never tried to hide it, and you made a good point there about personality and things like that. Has your opinion on going bald changed over time? You just mentioned that you were considering shaving it off, maybe. What brought you to that decision?
I don't know. It's just.
Did I help? Were you seeing my awesome pictures on Instagram, and you thought?
Yeah, I want to look like Charles Bronson. The Bronson look.
Yeah, and you thought.
Yeah.
Wow, he actually looks good, bald. Maybe I should go ahead and do that.
Well, it really depends the shape of the head and whatnot.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I get a lot of messages from guys who are like, "Oh, do you think I'll look good bald? My head's a weird shape." And I thought, oh, that's ridiculous, right? And I do think it is to a certain extent, because again, talking about the way you carry yourself and personality, and things like that. But there is actually something to this. I saw another video, and I'm going to do another video on the YouTube about it. It's like if you've got the whole strong jawline, the sort of the what's that called? The pronounced brow, the typical manly traits. apparently, you know, the bald head, the shaved head will look a lot better on you. If you've got like a weak jaw, you know, some guys have like, well, not just guys, women as well, like the sort of thin neck, and the jaw is like very small at the bottom and sort of like retracted backwards, but they have like a big up top. And that obviously might not suit a bald head as well. But there's ways around that, you know. I mean, growing a beard for one. And I think going back then again, for the third time to that point about the way you carry yourself and the personality and things, I think that's probably the best point I've heard in a while.
Yeah, it's just about how you carry it, how you rock it. Like, you know, it's like wearing how you dress as well. Some people like, well, that looks ridiculous, but the guy suits it.
Yeah. I think it's the whole thing, you know, the way, you know, you are in that in-between stage, you know, like, that's fine. I've got all more power to you, because, you know, well, we've got different, like, balding heads, you know, mine sort of went at the back first, and I've got all this bit at the top is, like, super thin, you know, it, like, all sort of thins in one go, if that makes sense. But whereas you pretty much, you're all good at the back here, but just here, just slowly going back and back and back and back.
Just the two, they go faster stripes.
Yeah, it's not so obvious, and obviously, I guess day to day, you don't ever really think about it. You don't worry about it day to day.
No.
Just is what it is.
Just is what it is, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think it'll come back.
No, and I always make the point, you know, if this is the worst thing you got to deal with, then you're pretty lucky. Let's be honest, you know, because there's plenty of
the world.
Exactly, it's not the end of the world. There's plenty of worse things that could be happening to you.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
So you haven't. Sorry.
No, crack on.
So you haven't considered any treatments, but you have said you are maybe considering going for the shave off. The woman in the shop's obviously talked you out of it for now. Do you think? But do you think that's the way it will go eventually? Yeah,
I think maybe in like 5 to 10 years it'll probably just be a shaved head or very, very close. Like a buzzed. Yeah. Maybe not as short as yours. Maybe a bit longer.
Yeah. Use the clippers. I mean, I razor mine off like every sort of 2 or 3 days now. And I'll probably shave it tomorrow. As soon as it starts coming through, I pretty much shave it off again. I did buzz it, but I find when I buzz mine, it takes longer to sort of get it all even. You know, you have to go over it a few times. That's if you do it yourself, of course. If you got the money to go and get it done, then sweet. But I got fed up of paying like whatever, $10, $15 every time you want to just get a 1 minute haircut. You know, it seems a bit ridiculous. Yeah. But no, the buzz I think would be fine for you, because it's not super thin. You know, you can still see a lot of hair there still.
It's fine. You just got the pronounced the front.
You've still got the little island at the front.
The widow's peak. Yeah, the island.
Yeah. You going to consider growing the beard again?
Yeah, it's coming out. I decided I went baby face for a wee while. Yeah. But it's coming back.
Going back to your girlfriend, has she ever said anything about your hair, receding hair, or have you ever talked about it or anything, or not? Have you mentioned it to her?
I think I've made some self-deprecating jokes before, but never. Yeah. She's never been like, "Well, hey, you're running out of hair.
You got no hair, mate." She obviously doesn't have a problem with it.
No jokes, just nah.
Nice one. Okay, Andrew. Well, Andrew, for the people who are listening, okay, I'd wonder if you can sum up for me, in your own words, as best as you can, your best advice for guys. You know, maybe there's someone listening to this podcast now who's, you know, literally just found out they were going bald. I mean, it sounds like you took it really well, which is, that's fantastic. You know, for me, I was horrified. You know, it came sort of out the blue. And I was totally horrified. So maybe for that guy who is, you know, just found out he's going bald, or maybe for the guy who's like, you know, in a similar position to you, maybe they've lost a bit more than you and they're not sure what to do. Maybe they're looking into some treatments, or should they shave it off? Andrew, give these guys some advice in your own words as best as you can.
So it's not the end of the world. It probably won't happen as fast as you think. You know, it's usually in a stage, and because it takes time, you get older with it. So the older you get, the less you really worry about how you like your looks in relation to who you are. So I wouldn't worry about it being an incredibly important part of you. You don't have to shave your head. You can get like what I've done, you know. You can stylize it and it can still work. It's just no two cases be the same. Like with you, it was at the back and the top, right?
Yeah.
Whereas with me, it's just the front is getting closer to the back. So yeah, every case is going to be different, and sit down with your hairdresser and see what they can do. You don't need to just shave it off.
Interesting. I mean, slightly different opinion. Well, you know, I don't say to guys, oh, you have to shave it off, you know, it's the only way. But I think it's interesting that you have, you know, slightly different opinion to me, because you've been sort of so comfortable with it, you know, like all the way. I was like, I really struggled with it mentally, you know, like I was walking, I'd be walking down the street, you know, I've said this before, but I'd be walking down the street, like constantly aware, thinking like, people are looking, you know, like, oh my God, like I look so ridiculous, you know. So I just like bit the bullet. It's sort of like tearing off the plaster, you know, fast. It's like jumping in at the deep end. I was like, I'm going to shave it off now, so that when I'm bald, and I have no choice, it won't be that big shock, you know. So I'm of the camp that, like, you know, if it's affecting you really negatively, mentally, you know, if it's affecting you day to day, then just get rid of it. And once you're rid of it, that worry's gone, you know. But I think it's an interesting point. Like you say, everyone's different. Everyone's sort of, you know, you've kept yours for a long time. It's fallen out very slowly. So, you know, I guess that message there was to the guy who's just sort of found out that they're going bald. You know, I mean, realise it's not the end of your world, you know. Take it easy, relax. It's not just going to go in 2 days, you know. Like you said, yeah, I think you're spot on there.
Yeah, because you can jump into the deep end if you want to get rid of it. Like if you want it to, I don't know, if you want to have that sort of identity change, sure, just shave your head, be done with it.
The clean slate.
Yeah, that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
You know, the other way is just kind of continue on and make it more of a gradual process.
Yeah.
Which both work, but it just depends what, you know, if you want to hold on to your hair a bit longer, or like the extent where it's happening, you know.
I mean, what about these treatments and stuff? Like you know, you said about the caffeine shampoo, the you know, the drugs. Do you know much about Propecia and things like that?
No, I'm no expert on these things.
But would you advise a hair transplant? I mean, I guess you know what that is, where they just take hair from. Would you recommend? Do you think guys should look into those things, or do you think they should learn to sort of accept it? What's your opinion on that?
Me, I'm more of the accepted camp.
Yeah.
For example, it'd be very strange if I walked into work tomorrow with a full head of hair. People would be like, hold on. Your hair is grown.
Yeah.
What's going on here, Andrew? Oh, this is natural. Like, and then you have to get into the explanation of what you did. It's not that important to me. So
yeah, that's a really interesting point, actually. Yeah, for those, I mean, you know, if you've been in a career for a while, you've had the same friends and whatnot. I mean, if you had to then explain to these people, like, oh, I've had a hair transplant, or oh, I use this like dab on hair, it's almost, in my point of view, that would almost be more embarrassing than just saying, oh yeah, my hair's fallen out, like it is what it is, or oh, I shaved it off because my hair was falling out, which you obviously saw.
Stigma attached to these. We're playing into the stigma attached to that sort of treatment.
Yeah.
So, but if people want to go ahead with it, crack on.
Yeah, no.
For me personally, it's not one of those important things. I'd rather spend my money on other things, you know.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right, and that is actually, that's important to remember. Like every guy's different, and you know, at the end of the day, people need to do what they need to do in order to be happy. If your hair is really that important to you that you're going to spend a few £1,000s going over to Turkey to get a hair transplant. If that's going to make you happy, then more power to you. Go for it. But
Yeah.
I think, you know, all I'm trying to do here is, I mean, I am trying to change people's perceptions, because, you know, you nailed it right at the start where you said, look, at the end of the day, it's just not that important. You know, it's just not. Someone, I had this discussion on YouTube. Well, not really a discussion, more of a comment from someone who said, people who go bald should be like sterilized, and so that this genetic defect can be sort of wiped out. And I said, you know,
that's a bit extreme.
Yeah, and I sort of said, and it's true, the genes that make, you know, your hair responsible, you know, sort of your sensitivity to DHT, and basically the genes that are responsible for your hair falling out, male pattern baldness, are no more inferior to the fact, like, oh, you have a big nose, or you've got green eyes, or you've got small ears, or big ears, you know? It's not a defect, it's just the way your genes are, you know? And so the way your sort of person looks and stuff, that's all baldness is. It's just you look different. It's nothing inferior or you know, or dangerous, or it's not a disease, you know?
Well, yeah, if you're talking about in the genes, it doesn't really affect your like survival ability.
No,
right?
it's purely aesthetic, if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's fairly redundant, you know, whether or not you have hair or not. Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
That's a nice comment to get.
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, I liked that one. Andrew, have you got any closing words for the listeners and for me?
Yeah. Keep your chin up. Hair doesn't matter.
Nice one, Andrew.
Like,
thank you very much.
You know, it's like kind of a teenage obsession, you know, with people like the awful haircuts and stuff.
Yeah.
Think that they're known as, you don't want to be known as a haircut.
No. And I think you made a good point there about, you know, it doesn't happen overnight, and as you get older you sort of realise, you know, I think it does help you realise that there's much more important things going on, and people's perception of you is not 100%, you know, down to what hairstyle you have, you know. There's a lot more things people are more concerned about and look at or take into account than the hair on your head, whether you have some or not.
If what your hair looks like is their most important, is what they judge you on, you're probably hanging around with the wrong people.
The wrong people, or you're concerned with the wrong sort of people or the wrong opinions.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're worried about that. That's fantastic, Andrew. Thank you very much. We'll close out the podcast here, Andrew. We'll keep chatting in a minute, but we'll close the podcast here. I want to thank everyone who's tuned in over on SoundCloud, on iTunes, and on the YouTube channel if you joined us over there. Thank you so much for listening. A bit of a different take, a bit of a different opinion from Andrew there as opposed to mine, and that's why I'm doing this. It's all about a discussion. It's all about, you know, talking about it, because that's the first step. That's the first step in us accepting it and just, you know, opening it up for the discussion so that more people can find out how they personally should best deal with it. I think it's fantastic. Thanks again for listening. Don't forget to tune into the next episode. I will see you then. Goodbye.
Cheers, guys.